Okay, 1928 closed cab Ford Model A pickup, part 2, getting it back on the road. Left off where I was working on the engine bay. I had to hook up these gas linkages. They were all bent to hell. Add a new link and straighten out the that whole, I don't even know what you call it, that whole mechanism on the firewall that works the throttle. New fan belt, went through the distributor, put new points, new point block, new condenser. Had a problem with this cheap ignition switch replacement for the original pop-off ignition switch. It shorted out against the ammeter, so I had to strip it back and cut the wire back and put a new crimp connector on it, the ignition switch, to make it work. I also added a heat shield. I don't know if they work, but to try and keep the heat off that condenser. Pulled the plugs, cleaned them, gapped them, tightened the packing nut on the water pump that was leaking a little bit, added a new fan belt, new radiator hoses, or came with the truck, put them on. What else? I mentioned I went through the Zenith, went through it a couple times, had a time keeping it from dripping. The first Chinese needle valve assembly leaked, so I got a second one, put that in, and flattened the mating surfaces of the bowl and the top with plate glass and sandpaper, emery cloth, wet sandpaper, flattened them. Finally got that so it doesn't leak gas. That's about it. It's a good running engine. It really goes well. I get it up to about 45. I had more in it, but got the Aguga horn going, a little oil cleaning. Again, I mentioned I wired the thing. It didn't have reflectors or anything in it, put the bulbs in, parking light bulbs. This came with a pressurized cap, someone had soldered on a neck. I was going to desolder it and put a regular spin-on cap, but I figured it might help. And I think it's a low pressure, pressurized cap. I'll leave it for now. Added the splash panel that wasn't there. The top was done when I got the truck. I think I mentioned that these are the radial tires from Coker. I like them a lot. Purists won't like this, but I added the Ken Davis tube shock kit to it. I just couldn't bring myself to spend $1,200 for the original reproduction lever shocks. The bed itself isn't in bad shape. I guess the wood could use replacing, but you know what? I kind of like the rusty, crusty look of it. I added these. Fenders are reproductions. I do have the original bracing. I did finally buy the right support plate and bolts to bolt that up. I've got to do that. I've got some body work to do on it, but I'm not going to go crazy on that. It's never going to be a show truck. I kind of like it the way it is. It's got some dents in it. And I might work some of that stuff out. A little rust. Gonna throw a patch on the cowl. That's about it. It's a blast to drive. Having a lot of fun with it. My father always wanted a Model A. He passed away without getting one. So I figured, it's on my bucket list. Let's get one and play around with it. I'm sure it's my first, but it won't be my last. So I'm kind of hooked onto the hobby. It's a lot of fun.